Hello and welcome to another episode of Weird Christianity, where today two mates, two friends are meeting together over a lunchtime to discuss a fact and take the mick out of each other.
And the reason it's weird is because we're Christian and weird. So that's why it's Weird Christianity, because we're... Yeah.
I think it's called weird because of you, Chris.
Oh, well, that's fine. Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
In any case...
I'm happy for that. You can be the Christian, I'll be weird. Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
salvation.
We've got something there going. Great. So, we'll start with the weird first.
Yeah.
Chris, what is your fact today?
My fact is, I was going to start with new year, new me kind of thing and really irritate everyone. But then I got thinking, actually, has anyone had a transformation in their life? Something turn around? If you like a hero of faith. And I was brought to George Muller. He did actually have a conversion to Christianity in his 20s. Beforehand, so he was born in Kroppenstedt.
That was well pronounced for all the German out there. Please message us back.
Yeah, with
with the right pronunciation. Please do.
So he was born in Prussia, now Germany, in 1805, and he was a very troubled young man. He was engaged in stealing and lying, and he was even imprisoned for his debts. So his start in life isn't exactly fantastic, but fret not. The whole change happened in his life where he underwent a dramatic conversion during a prayer meeting. I don't know how he ended up there if he wasn't a Christian. I guess he was brought along by some friends and he became a devout Christian. And it was just so an abrupt change that actually he is well known in the UK. He moved all his work to and became a missionary to England.
So is he well known in the UK because of the yogurt?
I mean, yes, there is Muller yogurt, and I have to say I absolutely love it. We will come back to that because...
Is it linked to this guy?
No.
What?
But I know. But I was... You had different kinds of people with the Muller... Sorry, little divergent. We had two different ways. You'd eat... No, you had three different ways. You'd either eat
three different ways of what? Of eating your Muller yogurt?
The Muller corner. You'd either eat the yogurt, then eat the strawberry, or you'd put the strawberry on top and eat it with, or you'd be this crazy person. You'd mix it all in together and have kind of this weird whatever it is. For me, I was option number 2, put it on top and have slices of the yogurt with whatever it was, the strawberry puree.
I would stir it in.
Oh, no.
And I would add more jam to it.
No, that's not how you eat. Anyway.
People, please message us back on how you eat your Muller yogurt.
Yeah, but
take photos.
I just throw it out and just get another yogurt. So I was like, okay, fair enough. Anyway, this guy, so he comes over the UK and he sets himself up in Bristol. And one of the things that he did was to set up an orphanage work because he was so disturbed by the plight of homeless children in the streets of Bristol. And he established what's still known as Ashley Down Orphanage, which at its peak could house over 2,000 children.
So I love this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you sent me these things about your New Year's resolution, and then just like look at this George Muller guy and so on and so forth. It was amazing to just kind of research him a bit more. Yeah. What was great is that I come from France. Would you believe? I know can't tell. The accent is not. Can't tell. But I come from a part of France where it was never really a Protestant part of the world.
Okay.
So quite a lot of the pastors over the years were burnt. In the 20th century, so in the last century, a guy from England came to France to start our church, which is now just kind of carried on. And this guy is called George Muller. But it's not the same George Muller.
Wow.
He's not that old.
Yeah.
And the church is not that old. It's just like literally like we're talking about the 60s.
Wow.
I was like, you want to talk about this guy? I mean, he's pretty insignificant, very significant.
You've been researching my family history, Chris. What's going on?
But what I found is that this guy could have been the same guy because George Muller spoke 3 languages, and he could speak like not my George Muller, the George Muller you're talking about, the very famous theologian. And he could speak to that level. So it was French, German, and English.
Well, yeah, of course,
but to the level that he could write in it, he could translate in it. He was just like he could preach in it.
That's incredible.
What an amazing guy!
The thing that really moved me as well is this is a guy who has, had, for lack of a better word, an illustrious past where he's been imprisoned for his debt. So he has a way of clearly looking to the wrong places, but getting money somehow or sorting stuff out. So you thought, maybe there'd be a bit of controversy there. How would he set up or provide for this orphanage? Would it be, he goes back to his old life? But actually, no. Apparently, most notably, Muller never asked the public for funds. His approach was to pray and trust that God would move people to support his work. And there are many stories of timely provision, like unexpected food donations arriving precisely when they need it.
He's certainly one of those guys, reading his books is all about just kind of God's timing. It's all about, so many people are basing their theology of living by faith on George Muller.
Yeah.
But they don't base it on facial hair. I mean, because his facial hair was just like beard, no moustache.
Oh, wow. So like kind of like an overgrown mutton chop kind of, but like, oh, wow.
With no moustache, just like no top. I mean, it's in that kind of century, quite a lot of groups. I think the Mennonites are one of those kind of sectarian groups.
Wow.
Of Protestantism that do not grow a moustache because the Bible says a man shall have a beard, but doesn't talk about the moustache, so they shave the moustache. I don't like that fashion. I do not like it. If you go on the YMCA Exeter website, you will see a photo of Chris and myself. And also Andy, our producer, we all have beards.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems to be a prerequisite to work for the YMCA to have a beard.
Maybe it's just the anointing with beards, but how does it... Anyway.
I mean, it's just like, beard, no moustache, not my style. But, also... talking about New Year resolution, quite a lot of Christians have decided they want to read their Bible more and stuff like that. Guess how many times has George Muller read his Bible?
What, cover to cover?
Cover to cover.
Oh, goodness. I mean, that's quite an achievement. I'm going to guess a 10. At least 10 times, is that right?
10 times.
Well, I mean, I've struggled to do it once. So, like...
Not in a year. I'm talking in his lifetime.
In his lifetime. Okay. 50 then. 50 times.
50 times. So, he died at the age of 92. 50 times. Is that your last...
You kind of like you're encouraging me to do like 100 times.
You go for 100.
Yeah.
It sounds like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
He's getting no money out of this.
Yeah. It's like I've burned through all my life.
You can't call a friend.
Please, this is like, if you could see Jeremy, this is like his eyes are pleading with me. Please go with a higher. but okay, 100.
So thanks to Paul Decassian, who has this fact, who came up with this fact. So George Muller, he's said to have his Bible, drumroll, more than 200 times. 200 times. For those who have never encountered the book of the Bible, it's a relatively thick book. I mean, it comes in different thickness, depending on the font and on the size of on the width of the thickness of paper.
Yeah.
However, it is quite a dense book to read.
It's quite a dense book.
Yeah, it is not. It is not one of those books that just kind of roll off the tongue.
No, and needs some kind of. I mean, the later parts of Daniel, Revelation, you kind of need to, genuinely have some kind of historical, cultural context to understand some things. Yeah, it's not always an easy read.
I want to just kind of talk about into Muller yogurt. And then I'll just.
And you would come back to it.
Just kind of Muller yogurt. The yogurt, just kind of loved by the English. George Muller didn't start the Muller yogurt. However, the guy who came up with Mars, the Mars bar. Yeah. He's called Franklin Clarence Mars.
Oh yeah, Mr. Mars.
Mr. Mars.
Yes, I mean
Mr. Mars.
So what a name!
Mr. Mars came up with the Mars bar. He's also behind the brand Uncle Ben's, and he decided to come up with Maltesers. So he invented Maltesers.
I mean,
and do you know
the Lord bless his
wife. I found out how they make the Maltesers, and this is slightly linked to the Muller because they have also these little balls of dough coated but basically they make them explode in a vacuum. Put dough, explode in a vacuum, boom,
I'm
put
eating
chocolate
a
on it.
controlled explosion. That's
You're
pretty
eating
cool.
a controlled explosion. What?
I mean, that's
how amazing is that? Remind us of your fact.
So, George Muller, a bit like New Year, New Me, had a change from a life of larceny, stealing, lying, and even being in prison for his death. Became a Christian in his 20s, and his whole life was turned around. That was my fact.
So my fact is that I have actually found a saint that was never born.
You found a saint that never was born. Okay, so how can you even... what? How can you even be sanctified before... Oh, wait, no, that's a different question. How can you be a saint without even being born?
Well. This is my trick. So this guy was Saint Raymond Nonatus. And Nonatus means never born in Latin. What a letdown. I can hear you, listeners, just kind of, no, that was a letdown, Jeremy. I'm going home. Don't turn off your podcast.
Yeah.
Because whatever.
Yeah. That's
my days. Nonetheless, it's just like, so yeah,
my days. I was just so taken out. It's just like, I was just like, because we have covered some really miraculous stuff, and I was just thinking he's gonna just come out with it. And I mean, we've got a plethora of information to go through about early church history, and I have to say we've barely touched the surface. There's some kind of out there stuff. I mean, we've debunked, for example, the saint that's named after me, St. Christopher, and just the fact that, they were like, well, doesn't really exist.
Yours probably didn't exist. Mine, there is a difference between existing
could you
and not being born. It's like, because, it's just like, there is a vast difference between that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was born, Saint Raymond Nonatus, and he decided that becoming a monk was not quite enough. So
I mean, okay, so
you have to do quite a few vows when you become a monk.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I always assumed that monk is basically the nun equivalent, right? So nuns have like certain vows that they go through, but so I'm just assuming it's like monks for the men, nuns for women, which I think so far has set me up very well in terms of when I'm having conversations with both. But nuns, you wouldn't automatically, would you? So my understanding is, from a nunnery perspective, is you wouldn't take your life vow. You would trial for a while. Can I basically cope with the being a nun? If I can, I then take it on for life.
Yeah. So
is it a similar thing?
Yeah, it is very similar to the thing for monk. But he just loved those vows, and he just wanted to have chastity, obedience, stability, blah blah blah, all these kind of things. And poverty was a big thing for some of the monk orders that you go to. But he decided also to just to take in self-sacrifice. He joined an order of monk that was taking another vow of being self-sacrificial.
Okay.
And they were usually used by the Vatican to go and negotiate the ransom for people that were imprisoned during the Holy War.
Okay, right.
So
Okay.
quite a dangerous thing. You know what I mean?
It's not.
So Muslim hated the Catholic Church at the time because of the Holy Land and things like that. I mean, it's just, I know there is a war going on nowadays. But in the 13th century, you certainly had another war that was there, that was happening there about the Holy Land of Jerusalem. The Catholic wanted to defend it. It was just kind of all these things. However, quite a lot of people got imprisoned by the Muslim factions.
Yes.
And they were going to negotiate the ransom.
Crumbs, wow.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
This guy's like another level.
And at some point, the money was not good enough, or they didn't have enough money. So he said, well, cool, you can take me instead.
Wow.
That is this level of self-sacrificial that he was willing to give.
He would go in instead, and these guys would be released. So they'd basically prisoner swap.
Yeah. I mean, he did that once and was eventually released. But that is amazing what this Raymond
Yes.
I mean, what's her name?
Raymond.
Raymond. You know what? I looked into different Georges.
Yes.
The very important Georges because of George Muller.
Muller,
There was George Clooney.
Also very important, George.
George Orwell.
Really good map. Really good map.
But I didn't look into Raymond. You know, it's just like, I think
think
Raimondo. You know, it's just like that.
You can't really beat him. I mean, that's
the best name. Raymond.
Yeah. Raymond.
Raymond.
Well, everybody loves Raymond.
Everybody loves Raymond. That's a series.
Anyway, but I think correct me if I've never actually seen it. Like, but isn't it a show basically where everyone doesn't like Raymond? I don't know.
I never ever look into it.
So I looked up. So in terms of like your typical like 3 for a monk, which I'm assuming is also for a nun, is poverty.
Yeah.
So they take a vow of poverty. They relinquish all personal wealth and possessions. Chastity, abstaining from sexual activity and romantic relationships. Obedience. So monks vow to obey their superiors in the religious community.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of like the main 3. And then you've got others like silence, service. So you have to do. You can't just be like, cool, I'm just chilling out at this monastery here or a nunnery. Just getting on with my life. You have to, there's an act of service involved as well. And so clearly to go to the extra level, I mean, Saint Raymond, sounds like an absolutely amazing guy just to take it to another level.
So have you ever been to a monastery?
I had to, when I was at Moorlands, they took us to a monastery. I had 2 days of it. That was enough. I was like monastic life.
You not talking.
Oh,
I think I think you could do anything else, but the silence part were probably quite hard for you.
Yeah, and I mean, it was. I tell you what, I felt really bad because the thing is I would be talking normally to a rather young monk at the time, and I was worried that I was going to stop him taking the final vow because I just like, I mean, there's all this life out there, and it'd been like.
I think the vow of silence is something that they do sporadically. It's not something like just like you have to do.
They seem to do it all the time around me.
But it's because. It's probably because you don't let them talk. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
It's not even the monk that you talk to. It's just like a random person who could not talk.
Yeah. I don't know who he actually is, that guy.
He just talked at me. Chris talked at me. I just could not talk. I just could not say a word in Edgeway.
I mean, I can understand. Like they talked about how they had people there who were like either like recovering addicts or actually had
monks that were recovering addicts.
So they had monks who were recovering addicts there, and you didn't know who it was, if they were current or if this was previous monks, or they had actually previously criminal past, but found that they couldn't fit into society. I'm not, and basically became a monk and found companionship and solitude and obviously a relationship with God in this environment. And actually it gave them a purpose and a direction that they really enjoyed, kind of away from the world that had actually that they'd got involved in and had, taken a really bad kind of turn with things. And so I was just absolutely amazed at how from that perspective, the monastery is a really transformative thing. But going back to it, I was genuinely like, no, not for me. It is too, it's almost like it's almost too holy in a sense. I'm like, I'm in the wrong place here. Like, maybe it was the Holy Spirit convicted me or something, but I was genuinely there. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is another level.
I went to during COVID.
Yeah,
there were this. I can't find the video anymore. But, what was the sound? Was me trying to just kind of find on YouTube this kind of Gregorian monk who just kind of did a song for COVID, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
So Gregorian monks usually are singing, but there is this order.
Aren't they famous for that?
Yeah. So the Gregorian monks are singing, but there is they released another song, and it was really great because it was just like different monks just kind of singing because of course they had to do it distance. It's an amazing video. Just kind of check it out. But what I love with monks is that they make the best beer and the best cheese.
Yeah.
You can take a vow of self-sacrifice. I don't mind. Raymond, you're lettered.
Good beer, good cheese.
Yeah. It's just like as long as you get good beer, good cheese, I'm okay. You know what I mean? Just
fair enough.
There is a bit more than that. I went to visit a monastery in France. And also France, we have quite a few monasteries, some making amazing beer and amazing cheese. This one was also amazing just because it was one of the oldest that was there. And we met some of the monks, and some we thought had taken a vow of silence, but no. They just
very introverted.
They're just very introverted because they don't see people very often. So it's just like interaction with people outside, not so good.
Wow. Okay.
But it's just like, but they were amazing people. Yeah.
I imagine for some people, it really, really is amazing. And kind of, you know, my wife's been telling me about a recent series. I think it's called Saint Benedict, and she is a character. She's a nun, so similar link.
Your wife is a nun?
No, my wife is not a nun, no, but she's watching a BBC series about because that'd be really embarrassing. I know nothing about nunneries. But also, how would that vow of anyway, and we've got 4 kids. Anyway, how would that work? But yeah, she's talking about this detective, she's not a detective, but it's kind of like along the lines of Father Brown. She solves crimes. So I was just like, for an Englishman, another whodunit in...
Hang on. Imagine Father Ted, the guy who's always drunk. What's his name? Solving crimes.
Oh my God.
So anyway, my fact today was that they were a saint that was never born. He was really born, but his surname was non-interest, which meant never born. So thank you. This ends our episode for today.
Oh
well, you can talk to someone else later on. That's great.
It's therapy for me, guys. That's basically why this is happening. Yeah.
So anyway, you can find us on social media at Weird Xenity Pod on Twitter.
I just feel you're making that up every time. I know you're not, because I can see it.
Well, I kind of making up the pronunciation, I think, every single time. Anyway, the other one is on Instagram, Weird Christianity, and Weird Christianity Pod on Facebook. You can also find out more about YMCA Exeter, who are sponsoring this amazing podcast at ymcaexeter.org.uk. Thank you and goodbye. Have a great week.
See you guys. Bye.